This is Brian Tyler Cohen versus Tomi Lahren. Brian Tyler Cohen is a political commentator on the left, and uh, Tomi Lahren is a right-wing commentator, okay? And apparently they had a debate on Trump tariffs, immigration, Elon Musk, and other things, okay? So yeah, let's take a look and see what they cook up, okay?
Want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members.
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please.
That's the problem.
If Democrats want to stand in the way of that and they want to tell their constituents, hey, vote for us in the midterms, vote for us in 2028, we'll make sure that the criminal aliens come back. Far be it for me to stand in your way.
And if Republicans want to run on, hey, we can disappear you with no due process, far be it for me to stand in your way.
Broadcasting across California, you're watching The Issue Is.
Wow.
Somebody had to pull the trigger. I was willing to pull the trigger.
That's President Trump talking about a roller coaster week for the world's economy as he launched and then pulled back on tariffs. Look who we got with us this week for an exclusive Issue Is debate. Brian Tyler Cohen regularly draws millions of viewers to his YouTube page, one of the most followed in progressive politics. He's host of the No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen podcast, available wherever you stream. Fox News commentator Tomi Lahren is regularly viewed by millions of people on the right. She is host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless, which drops weekdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Outkick.com, Fox Nation, and various social channels. Our past shows with Brian and Tomi were among the highest rated and most viewed online shows we've ever done. It's been a few years since we've had them on together. We needed to cool down over that period. So we're excited to welcome both of you back to The Issue Is.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. And I would just like to say the last time that I had the pleasure of talking to Brian Tyler Cohen, President Trump was not our president. So it's a great day for me to be here with President Trump back in office, and I can't wait to get into it.
Okay, well, let's begin by what President Trump did this week, Tomi. President Trump's tariffs. There is an escalating trade war going on between the U.S. and China, while the president has placed a 90-day pause on most of his reciprocal tariffs on other countries. Wall Street seemed to like that. We've seen huge swings in the stock market. Tomi, what do you think of the president's trade policy?
Listen, this is the art of the deal at its best, and I understand that there was some volatility on Wall Street, and that's understandable, and I don't ever want to downplay anybody's concerns when it comes to their finances, their 401k, their retirement. I completely understand the anxiety there, but what President Trump has said, and I believe, is this is less about Wall Street and more about Main Street, and what you're also seeing is this president in action. He's managed to, in a couple of days' time, isolate China from the rest of the world, put them in their place. He's got that 90-day pause. Other countries coming to the table, 70 plus, lining up to make deals with this president. So I'm incredibly happy to see this thing play out. I understand the anxiety. I trust the process. I trust this president. And I think that we're off to the races.
Brian, do you trust this president?
I don't think that I trust the president any more than most of the country trust the president on the economy right now. The reality is that this is an economic calamity that he has ushered in, and he's done it unilaterally and voluntarily. If we actually do descend into a full-blown recession, which most people, most economists are predicting that we will right now, it'll be the first time that it's done at the hands of an American president for, completely unforced as an error, a completely unforced error. The reality is that the stock market is tanking. All of our indexes are in correction territory. If a Democratic president did this, Tomi would be apoplectic at the ruin that has been ushered in. And the only time there was some momentary reprieve in the stock market is when Donald Trump himself caved on his own policy. And finally, Tomi, you had mentioned that we're isolating China on the world stage. There's reporting now that Japan and South Korea are negotiating trade deals with.
So personally, I'm a misogynist, so I'm automatically on Brian's side, okay? Just FYI.
China to go around American tariffs. There's reporting that the EU is working with China to eliminate those tariffs for EVs. So I'm concerned that you're not familiar with which country, in fact, is actually being isolated on the world stage. It doesn't look like it's China.
China needs us far more than we need China, as goes for the rest of the world. I understand the global economy, and I understand the anxiety here and the market reacting to it. But it's pretty simple. The way things were going was unsustainable. This president understands that. So that's why he was elected in many ways, for total upheaval. The Democrats are the party of the status quo. Keep everything the same. simply just grow government, have more government jobs. This president doesn't see it that way. He believes in America and he believes in the American people. Not only does he want to bring industry and business back to this country, good.
Dude, Tommy is, I can tell why she's so big, okay? Like, she is the most milquetoast standard MAGA bootlicker ever, okay? I can tell, okay? All right, it's clear, it's very clear, okay? Like, everything that she's saying right now is, it's just basically all, like, fucking Trump talking points without any thought put into it. Just
good paying jobs for hardworking blue collar Americans, but he also understands that he is in a position uniquely to negotiate with the rest of the world, including China. This president is not inflexible. He said he's willing to make deals. He's welcoming these other countries to make deals. But I would say trust the American people, trust American industry, and understand that the way things have been going for the last 4+ years was not sustainable. Somebody had to do it. This president is willing to take the political risk to do it, and he believes in the process. He believes in the American people. He believes in the hardworking Americans that the Democrats would do well to understand they are hemorrhaging. Continue to go to bat for China and Wall Street. I think this president's fighting for the American people, and he's going to win big time because of it.
Tommy, one of your great strengths is that you are connected to so many people in the middle of the country who are hardworking, blue-collar type people. A lot of them voted for Donald Trump because they expected prices to go down. Are you concerned that a lot of President Trump's base is now going to see their own prices go up and they can't afford that?
Listen, I think we've seen from the report that not only is inflation cooling and the consumer price index has been favorable to this president. Again, the egg prices that they wanted to go down within the first day of the inauguration, those egg prices are down. Oil is down, so your gas prices are going to go down. That's going to fuel the economy in great and wonderful ways. I understand that anytime you make a dramatic transition, the markets are going to react to that. There is a nature of unpredictability. But I would say trust the process, trust this president, and you know what, Alex, if this doesn't work out in 6 months to a year, have us back on. I will eat crow. But for right now, I'm betting on the negotiator in chief. I believe he's bringing these countries to the table. He's the president of the United States. This country is the most powerful economy in the world. And it's about time that we get some fair and better trade deals for the United States and the American people.
She sounds a lot like one of these North Korean propagandists. Okay, like this is what she sounds like. Like she doesn't even speak like a regular person, don't you guys think? Like she doesn't even talk like a regular person. Even the way that she talks is just feels so artificial, robotic, feels very like you know, oh, here's the talking points, right? She talks like a priest from church. Yeah, I agree, right? And this entire line, again, like if we want to address what she's actually saying, you know, this kind of stuff with like trusting Donald Trump, it's just laughable, okay? Considering how he has ruined everything that he has ever fucking touched. And in addition, he is one of the least trustworthy, most inconsistent, lies out of his mouth all the time, kind of president. So I don't know why she's saying trust Donald Trump. See, the thing is that I would only trust somebody who has shown a history of being trusted and fulfilling promises. Even if Trump was trying to crash the economy, I wouldn't even trust him to crash the economy on purpose. You know, if he promises to crash the economy, chances are he's going to prop up the economy and make it better than ever before. He just does the exact opposite than whatever he promises.
That's what this president's doing.
And Brian, I mean, Tommy talks about this, but policies like NAFTA, a lot of folks in the middle of the country felt really hurt them, really hurt manufacturing, and did not help them, even though it made Wall Street richer. What about those folks?
The reality is that if the economy is cratering, which Donald Trump is ushering right now, that's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help those folks in the middle of the country. It's not going to help the folks who are looking to reshore jobs back in the United States. The market is looking for one thing, and that is, first of all, stability and a good faith negotiating partner. Donald Trump has proven that he is neither one of those things, which, by the way, is why foreign countries are dumping American bonds right now. And so that shows that no one is willing to invest in the United States across the world because they they see that there is no stability in this country. And we talk about our trading partners. We've shown nothing but hostility to our trading partners. We've shown nothing but hostility to Mexico, to Canada. And so are these people going to be more likely to invest in the United States, more likely to get into business with Donald Trump, or less likely? We like to think of ourselves as this global behemoth that's beyond the reach of all of these other foreign countries, but we live in a globalized economy right now. And the fact is that we're not going to be able to do a lot of what we rely on other countries to do right here in the United States. We rely on a global economy. And right now, Donald Trump is doing nothing but making it more difficult for us to be able to negotiate those deals. And if he's tanking the economy in the meantime, that's not going to help anybody, whether they're in the middle of the country or on the coast of the country, whether they're Democrats or Republicans.
We're talking with Tomi Lahren on the right, Brian Tyler Cohen on the left. Let's talk about immigration now. We have seen a massive drop-off in illegal border crossings after President Trump has really cracked down in immigration. Biggest changes probably of anything he's done from the Biden administration. There are also a series of lawsuits, though, claiming that the administration is rushing to deport people who legally have a right to be here. The administration admitting, at least in one instance, they did make a mistake. Tomi, this is your issue. What do you make of President Trump's approach to immigration? And what do you say to critics who feel like he's rushing it and some people are getting caught up in the middle who shouldn't?
Wow.
Well, listen, if you're an illegal alien, you have no legal right to be in this country, so you're not getting caught up in anything. I would just say that. I can't wait to talk about the so-called administrative error, and I can't wait to listen to Brian Tyler Cohen defend criminal illegal aliens. That's a wonderful hill for Democrats to die on. I encourage you to continue doing that. But I'll tell you this. President Biden said it couldn't be done. He said you cannot secure the border without the bipartisan border bill. Well, I guess
You know what I like? I like how Trump literally cannot deport as many as Obama because he's doing it so unlawfully. Hold on. Obama deportations. First month. President Obama's administration deported more than 30 million people. Okay. Trump administration deportation numbers. Total. Sorry. Administration. Sorry, I always bring up this example because it just goes to show just how fucking incompetent he is. So stupid. Deportation of illegal immigrants in the second. So in the second presidency, he hasn't even surpassed 100,000, technically. Trump administration, deportation, first presidency. So he has deported just under 1 million people in the first term, okay? And he has deported under 100,000 people in the second term so far. He needs to cover 2 million deportations to beat President Obama. All right? So the nature of these deportations is horrific, lacks due process, and is unconstitutional. However, Obama, using constitutional lawful means, deported more than Donald Trump. All right, just to give you guys an idea of, who exactly is more competent here. All right, you need to do a 10 times more day at least to do 2 million. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. This is the party of everyone is shaped in God's image and we are God's children. Yeah, no, they're not. Okay, again, everybody's a fucking hypocrite in the Republican Party. Okay. Why are they so evil? Well, mainly because they're born of Satan. Maybe they're just that satanic. Who knows?
That was a lie, just like everything else they fed to us during those 4 years where we essentially had a vegetable in office. It can be done. President Trump has managed to do it in less than 3 months. When you had border crossings, thousands a day, and now you're down to about a handful of gotaways, if that, I think this is an incredible success. Not only are we deporting criminal illegal aliens, we're keeping people from coming into this country illegally so we don't have to deal with the problem of deporting criminal illegal aliens 5-10 years down the road. This is an incredible success. President Trump has been able to do it in rapid speed, and there's nobody getting caught up that has a legal right to be here. You come into this country illegally, you are up for deportation. That might make Democrats mad, but I think that most of us on the right and the country that voted for this are quite happy with what's going on.
Brian, what's wrong with that?
It's interesting that you say nobody's getting caught up, because Abrego Garcia was caught up by getting sent to a foreign gulag in El Salvador when the Trump administration itself.
And not only that, remember, he got a 9-0 vote, okay, a 9-0 vote to get him back to the U.S., okay, just FYI, all right, 9-0 vote to get him back to the U.S.
Conceded that it was an administrative error. And so the Supreme Court, this 6-3 conservative Supreme Court, and a court that is so extreme, we've never seen a court this far right in our lifetimes, ruled 9-0 unanimously that he had to be sent back. So to claim that no one is getting caught up in.
Exactly. When was the last time you ever saw Justice Thomas vote liberal on anything? Okay, the last time just like Clarence Thomas voted liberal on anything was like who the fuck knows? Okay, maybe 50 years ago. Okay,
the system, when that is exactly what's happening and it's being litigated at the highest levels of the judiciary, is pretty bad faith here.
Tomi?
Oh, I can't wait to respond to that. So this person that was caught up, the so-called Maryland father that y'all like to talk about, it's not that he was caught up because he was a legal citizen or because he wasn't gang affiliated. It was an administrative error talking about the flight itself, okay? So it's not as if, and it actually really bothers me when those on the left say that there are just average Americans being swept up because they have a funny-looking tattoo. That's not the reality. In fact, that is a lie, and it's really unfortunate that that's the narrative the left has to go with here. I understand that there is.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever heard of this, but maybe she's right, okay? Even if she is right, she's still wrong. Right? Because the fact that there's no due process in the very beginning still makes it wrong.
Due process, but I think you understand, Brian Tyler Cohen, that there is a different set of rules for due process for people who have no legal right to be in this country, and especially when your own county has said that you are gang affiliated. That wasn't President Trump that said it. That was the Prince George County that said that this was a gang affiliated person. So if you're going to talk about people getting swept up, at least have your facts correct. This irritates me to no end.
Brian, but to the bigger point of all of this, despite some of these cases, is there value in what the president is doing? I mean, we have seen these border crossings go way, way down.
I'll certainly concede that Joe Biden could have done more and should have done more to take control of what was happening at the border. And in fact, his unwillingness to do that is largely what created the political environment.
I don't think he should concede on this, okay? I don't think he should concede that. He should say, it is actually so funny that you bring this up because Trump blocked the border bill, right? Trump blocked the border. Trump told Republican senators to not let the border bill through because it was under Biden and he wanted it to be under him specifically. So, like this, that would be the perfect example to bring it up. But I don't think Brian Tyler Cohen should concede on this point, just mainly because, somebody who is as much of a Trump bot as like Tomi Lahren would never ever concede to anything similar, even remotely similar to that nature, right? Like she will never say anything bad about Donald Trump. She will never ever say anything, good about Biden whatsoever. She's not going to do it, right? So I don't see why BTC is going to say anything like that.
For Trump to be able to exploit a lot of the pain that Americans were feeling as it relates to immigration. But that's still no excuse for Donald Trump to engage in this lawless deportation effort for people who haven't had due process to the point where the courts had to step in. I know that you're trying to make some weird distinction between due process rights for people who are Americans or legal residents, as was the case with Abrego Garcia. But the Constitution says that if you are here, you are entitled to due process. And that is not what these people are getting. That is why the courts had to order them sent back. That's why the courts had to order the planes get turned around. And of course, the Trump administration opted to defy it. Not before we have folks like J.D. Vance who came on Twitter trying to beat his chest about how great it was that these people were deported. And how no court would push back on this when the Supreme Court and all the federal judiciary is doing exactly that. But the reality is that these people are entitled to due process. And if you believe in what you're saying, which presumably the Trump administration does, they should have no problem proving this stuff in court.
Yep.
Tommy?
He's right. He's right. Because if they had any kind of evidence at all, they would have pulled it out by now. If they had any kind of evidence, they would have pulled it out for a second. All right. You really think like the Trump administration have any kind of standards with like what's proper and improper? The moment they have their hands on the evidence, they would have just spit it back out, right? Foods, would you do a Q&A segment at the end of the stream? I keep thinking of random questions I want to ask, but I don't think they fit the context, huh? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do a Q&A at the end of the stream, okay? She just, she literally a villain character, or is it just me? Not just you. She's very much a villain. Yep.
Well, I would just say if Democrats, I started out with it, Alex, and I'm going to continue on it. If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members.
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please.
That's the problem. Like, look, I will be the first one to say if there is a criminal, if there's a gang member in this country, someone who has committed any crime, big or small, get him out. Sure, I'll absolutely concede that. We don't need criminals in this country. But if you're talking about somebody who you don't know because you haven't afforded them due process, then
BTC is cooking here. Okay, obviously he's cooking. This is just me backseat debating. I have no place to say this. All right, just to be fair. But obviously I have to nitpick here, right? Nitpicking means like, again, you shouldn't concede. You shouldn't concede anything. Okay, you shouldn't concede anything because she's a bot. Okay, like the fact that she's not willing to have a good faith discussion or a good faith debate, like she's not debating in good faith. She's not being good faith whatsoever. Okay, like she knows that she's wrong. She's lying. She's very clearly somebody who is just simply a Trump propagandist. Okay, but Brian Tyler Cohen is actually being good faith, right? Like he's conceding where he needs to concede. He is saying, "Oh, I understand where I need to understand," right? But like you don't see Tommy saying any of that. That's how you know.
And you can't just make that claim.
Well, again, I will say it was actually Prince George County that labeled this person a gang member, and he's in fact an illegal alien. But we can go anecdotes aside.
She is almost 100% being intentionally dishonest. Yes. Like I would say 99.9%. That 0.1% chance being that she could just simply be like fucking cognitive dissonant. But I really, really doubt that's the case. I truly do believe that she is just dishonest. Yep.
We can argue over the Maryland father all day long. I'd be happy to do it. I've done a deep dive into this particular case. Okay. But the fact remains, President Trump is not only securing our border, but he is deporting criminal, illegal alien. If Democrats want to stand in the way of that and they want to tell their constituents, hey, vote for us in the midterms, vote for us in 2028, we'll make sure that the criminal aliens come back. Far be it for me to stand in your way. Continue that message. Best of luck with it.
And if Republicans want to run on, hey, we can disappear you with no due process, far be it for me to stand in your way. If Republicans want to turn the United States into Russia, where we disappear political opponents with zero due process, sending them to foreign gulags somewhere, if that's really what you're running on behind the banner of the Party of Law and Order, be my guest.
All right, I don't think...
Was he an illegal immigrant? Actually, nope. That's completely and utterly wrong, I think. From all the AP, I mean, maybe it has changed, but from all the AP news that I have read, I'm pretty sure that he actually has been up to date with his immigration papers every year. Yeah, and he has no prior criminal record. So no, she's lying. Okay, again, she's purposefully lying. I think most people are ignorant, not evil. True evil is rare. You would be correct, except the people that you see on the news and the people that you see are talking heads for the Republican Party are actually evil because they know they're wrong. They have done enough research to know they're wrong, okay? but they have an audience that believes everything they say, and they have an audience that's very pro MAGA, very pro Trump. Just look at Ben Shapiro, right? When Ben Shapiro does actually turn against Trump, because there's no other choice for him, all of MAGA turned against him, and he's probably losing lots of money right now, right?
We're going to get together on that one. But let's talk finally with Brian Tyler Cohen and Tomi Lahren about Elon Musk. His move to cut government waste has gotten about as much attention as anything in Washington. This week, he lowered Doge's projected savings to $150 billion. Brian, how do you think the Doge experiment is working?
Well, I think the fact that he's gone from $1 trillion in savings down to $150.
Politicians in general tend to be more morally corrupt than the regular average person. Okay, so see, this is the thing where I don't even think that's the truth here, right? Because everybody hates politicians so much, but people don't really realize, like, politicians are just doing their job. They really are. Like, they represent what the people think. If you have a bunch of people who are MAGA supporters, then they're going to elect a politician who is very MAGA leaning. So that means believing whatever Trump says, believing whatever, right? Like, that's just how it is. If you have, like, it seems as though every single politician does actually represent the population that they represent pretty damn well, so yeah.
$1 billion in savings. I'm not great at math, but it sounds like an 85% reduction, if I have that correct. Correct me if I'm wrong.
But isn't that better than nothing? Still a lot of money, $150 billion.
If there is legitimate waste, fraud, and abuse, then be my guest. I'll be the first in line to sign up to eliminate it. But the reality is that if all you have to do is look at the very first targets of Elon Musk's Doge Commission to show where his priorities actually are, we all know that the one agency in the federal government that is more bloated than any other agency there is the Department of Defense, is the Pentagon, right? Failed 7 audits, ripe for something like the Doge Commission to go in and root out all that waste, fraud, and abuse. Can't even pass an audit. Hasn't been able to do so for the better part of a decade. And yet, what did Elon go after first? USAID, 0.5% of the budget that delivers clean water and food to people who need it in impoverished countries, that delivers HIV prevention, that affords America soft power around the entire globe so that we can expressly keep China from getting a foothold in a lot of these places across the world. That's what he went after, which just so happened to be investigating Starlink. He went after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which would have had oversight over Elon's efforts to turn X into some payment processing system, went after the EPA, which of course has regulatory authority over Tesla, went after the Department of Labor, went after the National Labor Relations Board. All of these agencies that Elon's gone after just so happen to either be regulating him, imposing fines on him, having some oversight onto him, and those are the ones that were gutted at his hands. And yet, meanwhile,
shouldn't have admitted a soft power. Yeah, like, I mean, wait, what do you mean? Which part? Do you mean the Elon Musk part, or do you mean the USAID part? Like, the thing is like, I think it's all right. Like, he's doing so well to the point where I think some slip ups like this is not a big deal, right? It really depends on, like, how big your, yeah, okay, USAID. I don't even think if that's it, if it's that much of a slip up, right? Like, he's inserting a really quick point in there. And yeah, it is technically correct, right?
While it took God knows how long for him to look at the Department of Defense, and yet we just found out that the DoD's budget is not decreasing, but increasing if Donald Trump gets his way to $1 trillion.
Tomi, your thoughts? I mean, there's a whole lot of people that support the military.
Yeah. And again, our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who happens to be a personal friend of mine, has opened up the DOD and said, hey, Elon, if you can find ways to cut waste, fraud, and abuse here, please have at it. Doesn't mean at the expense of our national security. And I'd also like to add, for those Democrats that love to use this talking point of the Department of Defense and how we need to cut there, they're the same folks that want us to prop up Ukraine in perpetuity. So again, if you want to end endless wars, I'm right on board with you on that one. Let's save some money, but not at the expense of our national security. I also say this, if you're cutting 150, if you're cutting $1 billion, boy, what would LA do with $1 billion to rebuild after those catastrophic LA wildfires that your mayor was MIA during, right? I think that $1 billion would go a long way to a lot of folks. But when you're looking at cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, no stone has been left unturned here. Elon and his team have gone through, and there was a fantastic interview with these folks of Doge with our own Brett Baer, and they said very simply, we're cutting the waste, we're cutting the fraud, we're cutting the abuse. We're not cutting Social Security, we're cutting the fraud out of Social Security. People that haven't been born yet, or people that have been dead for 20 years, people that are calling in and taking other people's benefits. That's what we're going after. So again, if the Democrats want to die on the hill of we need more foreign aid workers and we need more waste, fraud, and abuse and more government employees, have at it, guys. I don't know if this message is resonating with the average American.
I think you and I can both agree.
She's so cartoonishly evil. She's so cartoonishly evil that I have no choice but to laugh, okay? Because she is like the literal caricature of a MAGA propagandist. She, like, if you search up MAGA propagandist in the dictionary, her face should be directly under there because she is so fluent in the language of MAGA. Like, I'm actually impressed how fluent she is. She is repeating every point extremely well.
Agree that if these folks are committing fraud, that is a serious crime, probably the most serious crime that you could commit. And I mean, anybody who is committing fraud would obviously be charged, tried, convicted. And so can you explain to me how we've been hearing this talking point about fraud, all this fraud is getting eliminated over and over and over again, and yet not a single charge has been filed. So if there's all this fraud that Elon Musk is tweeting about on a daily basis, that Fox is hosting interviews to discuss, where are the charges?
I can't wait for those charges to come down. As you know, it takes a little while to formally charge somebody, but first you identify it, you identify the problem.
Well, you also been, Brian, I mean, to that point, Brian, you heard about all President Trump's issues coming at the beginning of the Biden administration. Then it took years for there to be charges against him. A lot of Democrats felt like that took way too long. But, I mean, that is part of the way the Department of Justice works, right?
Well, I truly hope that we can have this discussion again once we finally get these elusive fraud charges that we've been hearing.
Foos, where you go? I missed you. I'm right here. Hello. Hi. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat.
So much about, to the tune of billions and billions of dollars, thousands of people presumably or reportedly getting all of these Social Security benefits that are 100, 200, 300 years old. So I would love to come back and have that discussion once we finally get those elusive fraud charges filed.
Okay. And Tommy, real quickly, though, I mean, there's bloat in the Department of Defense. No, I mean, it's one of the most bloated organizations there is.
Wow.
Oh, listen, you're not going to get any argument from me about bloat in the federal government in general. There's a lot of areas that we can cut, certainly, and I have no issue with that. Of course, I don't want to downgrade our military capabilities. I think we certainly need to have money for that, no doubt, because of all the wars started under the Biden administration. But yes, I'm completely open to cutting wherever you can cut. If there is redundancies, if there is waste, if there's fraud, there's abuse, there's money being spent on furniture for buildings that nobody's showing up to, let's cut it. And the alternative here, I know the Democrats are so up in arms about this, but the alternative is what we have been doing, which is we're not going to look for the waste, fraud, and abuse, or even if we do look for it, we're going to turn a blind eye. We're not actually going to cut it out. Both parties are obviously guilty of that. So let's identify where this waste, fraud, and abuse is, and let's cut it out. If it's $1 trillion, fantastic. If it's $150 billion, I say that's still a win in my book. Just give credit where credit's due. Maybe it'll take a little while. Again, it's been 3 months, Brian, but let's come back in 6 months and let's see what's able to.
I'm sorry. She's such an unintentional comedian. Okay. Like she's actually such an unintentional comedian. It's just so fucking funny, dude. I'm sorry. I actually do find her funny as fuck. Like she's just so weird. She's so uncanny. She's so inhuman, right? Like, she doesn't seem like a real human being to me. I'm sorry. Like she just doesn't seem like a real person. Like, at all. She's just not a real person, you know? Like, damn.
To get done, and then I hope that you guys are singing the praises of Elon Musk and you'll stop lighting the Teslas on fire.
Well, both of you have offered to eat crow in different ways during this debate, which means we have to come back and do it again. But as we wrap things up, though, I always like to look for areas of agreement, maybe through pop culture. So we're going to play personal issues. This is the first thing that comes to mind to you culture-wise, and see if we can find any area.
She reminds me of the movie Get Out. Okay, she's like one of these slave catchers. Okay, she's like one of these slave lures from Get Out. Okay, by yeah, by Jordan Peele. Okay.
Of agreement in 30 seconds. Tomi Lahren, what's your favorite TV show you've watched recently?
Oh boy, I think it'd have to be Paradise, an excellent show streaming on Hulu.
On Hulu, it's great. Brian?
Severance.
Okay, Severance is a good one.
See, this is how I know BTC is correct, because he said Severance is his best one, and anyone who likes Severance is based. Okay, Severance is is probably one of the best shows to ever air, ever, in my opinion. Honestly, I genuinely think so. I think I really like Invincible. But I think that Severance is even above Invincible, in my opinion. Yeah, they're both good though. They're both good. Yeah.